stand for the pledge. Amber, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, liberty, and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Call a roll, please.
Gary Farley.
Here.
Amber Brown.
Here.
Jerry Sartain.
Here.
Joe Machoto.
Here.
William Harper.
Here.
Renee Curtis.
Here.
Zane Cantrell.
Present.
We have a quorum.
You have the minutes of our meetings of the last meeting that we had. And are there any corrections or changes in the minutes?
Move to be approved, Mr.
Have
Chairman.
a motion to be approved.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. They are approved. For those of you who are here, let me apologize for being a little late in starting our meeting. We like to be on time, but we have had a lot to cover, and we still do. So we'll move as quickly as we possibly can. Now remember, those of you who need to speak before the BZA, you'll come to the podium here on my right, and we ask that you limit your information that you share with us for 3 minutes. We understand all of these items that are before us, but we want you to have a chance to make whatever information that you would have to share with us, and that would be a part of the public hearing. The first item we have is a request from Homes by Design, who is requesting accessory dwelling unit. And what do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2019-44 involves the property located at 9900 Bluegill Court. It's a request for special exception to establish an accessory dwelling unit on a lot less than 1 acre. It's a 4.43 acre site located in the residential medium density zoning district. The property is located within the Anglers Retreat subdivision, and the home is already being constructed on the property, and the applicant indicated that the potential buyers would like to have a pool house / guest house located on the property, and so they are seeking special exception approval. This subdivision is located on step sewer, so capacity for septic is already in place. The proposed guest house will be located directly behind the structure in the side yard. The plot plan does indicate that that it would be placed in a drainage easement. The applicant has indicated that they will not place it in a drainage easement, and we're only here to consider the special exception for the ADU. Staff finds that apart from the minimum 1 acre requirement, the request meets the criteria for an accessory dwelling unit. And Anglers Retreat, most of the lots are being constructed upon. As you can see in the aerial, most of them were vacant. However, when we visited the site and posted the sign, lots of construction was taking place, and we received one informational call regarding this request, but no one indicated opposition. That concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please, to the podium. Okay. Just give us your name and any additional information you might want to share about.
My name's Andy Holmes, owner of Homes by Design, and I was just coming to answer any additional questions
Okay.
if needed.
Do we have any questions on this request? Looks like we don't. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Appreciate you being here. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Michael, it's good to have you with us. Always good to have one of our commissioners here.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and actually I'm glad to be anywhere. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Michael Rather, 1052 Allen Road. I am the District 3 Commissioner, and this is in my district. I know a lot of builders, and I've known them for a long time, and I'm familiar with homes by design, or home, I think that's what it's called. Quality products. Have no doubt they're going to do what's necessary to do it the right way. And I also want to share that nobody said a word to me about it, so I've had no opposition calls either. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? We'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion on it?
Mr. Chairman, being as it's being built outside of the drainage easement as he promised, I would make a motion for approval.
Have a motion to be approved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any further discussion? Call a roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Amber Brown, Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
William Harper,
Yes.
Renee Curtis.
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. The next item we have is a request by D. Ratliff, who is requesting a major home business involving a lawn maintenance. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2019-45 involves the property at 120 Faldo Drive. It's 1.87 acres and located in the residential medium density zone. The site is developed as the primary residence of the applicant, and they are seeking approval to establish a major home-based business involving a lawn maintenance company upon the property. The applicant indicates that a portion of the existing shop will be used for storage of materials and equipment, as well as the site will serve as a parking area for employees and parking for business trucks when the employees are off-site. The business hours proposed are 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. All of the site involves all of the services offered by the company involves properties off-site, and the only activity that you would see on the property is the picking up and dropping off of materials and equipment. The applicant's proposing 3 non-resident employees, which is consistent with the criteria for a major home-based business. The applicant is not proposing any signage. As you can see, that the site has a long driveway as well as a parking area, and the side of the structure is being used for parking of utility trailers and some equipment. So we posted a sign upon the property, and you can see the surrounding area. And this was the result of a code enforcement complaint indicating that there was a business being operated. And once the applicant was notified that a special exception was required for his business, he submitted an application for your consideration to remedy the code enforcement violation. And we find that it meets most of the criteria for a major home-based business. And that concludes our presentation.
Have any questions from our staff at this point? Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please.
My name is D. Ratliff. I'm the owner of Ratliff Landscape and Tree Services. That's my home, 120 Faldo Drive. I'm basically here to answer any questions or concerns that may arise.
Okay, you have one here. Jerry, go ahead.
Have you read the conditions upon us approving this that you must meet?
Yes, sir. I would say that the hours of operations typically are 6 in the morning till 7 in the evening. I like to have those shorter if I can. We do offer some emergency services, so be it snow and ice remediation, or we do some tree service as well. So sometimes there are instances where it wouldn't fall in those hours.
The main one I'm thinking about, it says you plan to store all your equipment in existing and proposed structures. That's not what I see here. So are you able to meet that requirement?
So I typically park trucks, my work trucks, when they're not in use along the side of the building there on a gravel area. The stuff that there is a trailer that I do keep there behind the one truck that you see that usually stays there. The other stuff that you see back behind there is a small John boat, which belongs to my son. In this particular picture, there's a bush hog there. I also own a tractor that is there currently that I don't use in my business. And right behind that, at that current time, there was a couple of plants there.
My question is, are you able to store all of the equipment that you have for your business in those buildings as it's required?
The exception of the trucks, yes, sir.
Those are vehicles, I understand. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. They'll come around at this time.
Good evening. My name's Robert Clemens, and I own the property, one of the two properties that abut directly to the back of the proposed, where the proposed business would be run. I would be the northeast property. The green line would divide, so I would be to the north portion of that. My only question, I have one concern and one question. Is there going to be any screening so that the view from the back of my home, I don't have to see if there ever eventually ends up being a lay-down yard in the back? A lay-down yard?
There's no screening that's proposed in this.
Like tree debris?
You might want to get him to be a good neighbor and put some screening there.
Okay, and that's fine. My concern, though, is he has a drainage ditch that handles all of the water from Lone Oak Drive that runs all the way back to the creek down what would be the west side of his property. I just don't want to see that obviously disturbed, because then that's going to cause a lot of problems upstream from there, so.
Yeah, it can't be disturbed.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Melanie Gorham. I live at 123 Faldo Drive, which is one of two residents directly, I guess, across the street in front of the said property.
Is that the correct place?
Yes, the one you had just, yes, okay. That one correctly, right there.
You're directly across the street from
right, if you were standing on their front porch to the right. So
okay.
Yep, that one right there. And I just, in listening to some of this evening, it sounds like this is talking about in the future, and that's not correct. This business has been established for a few years now, and it's a constant flow of vehicles in and out, employees in and out, tree service equipment in and out, coming in after dark with the tree service and having chainsaws running and tree chippers running and storing that in the back of said shed back there, which there's another storage shed back there as well facing the gentleman that was just up here. So to say that this is a small major business is not accurate. There is a lot of traffic happening up and down what was once a very quiet cul-de-sac area, a street that I've resided on for 15 years now, and there's never been the activity that we have had in the past few years. So to say that it has been a disturbance to what was once a quiet area is an understatement. So I don't know what else he plans to add. I do know that there are lifts and whatnot that he stores in the shed or in his garage, but there are trucks, there are trailers, always out in that area. So I wanted to be heard.
They have a request in from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, okay? Now, the problem with chainsaws, anybody can start up a chainsaw when they want to. I don't know why you'd want to after dark. So, but if there are violations, if this is approved and there are violations, all you got to do is call it in. They'll check it out. Okay? Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Any further questions from the board? That's the end of the public hearing. Do we have a motion on this? Joe, do you have? One thing you could do is approve this for 1 year for review at that time to see how it goes. I know this is a major business, but
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve it with an extra condition that none of the vehicles be parked on the street.
okay. Have a motion. Do we have a second?
For 6 months.
For 6 months, okay.
I'll second for discussion.
Got a second.
For
Go
discussion.
ahead.
You say on the vehicles on the street?
Yeah, when they're doing all their business during the day and stuff, that they not park their vehicles and things on the street, interfering with the neighbors.
The reason I asked that question, because I know you had asked about the trucks on the side of the garage. You said for 6 months?
6 months. Then a review. Review it, 6 months. So, okay. Any further questions or discussion? Call a roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Amber Brown, Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
William Harper,
Yes.
Renee Curtis, Zane Cantrell.
Yes. The next item we have is a request by Joe Bonner, who is requesting dumpster rentals. This is a exception for dumpster rentals. And what do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2019-46 involves the property located at 12200 Franklin Road. It's a request for special exception approval for the establishment of a major home-based business involving dumpster rentals. This property is located in the RM zone. The site is a 67-acre parcel, and it's located at the edge of Rutherford County along Franklin Road. The applicant would like to establish his business on his property that he resides upon. The business will involve the storing and parking of equipment and vehicles along this side property line, as you can see where my cursor is moving. And the applicant is seeking approval for 5 non-resident employees. The applicant has indicated in his application that he's seeking approval for up to 12 vehicles, which include roll-off trucks, garbage trucks, and then the storage and a service truck. The area that will be used for the storage of the vehicles is located approximately 800 feet off of Franklin Road. Business hours proposed are 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. No signage is proposed, and the applicant indicates that the gate to this driveway will be locked. This is a result of a code enforcement complaint. We received a complaint regarding trucks entering the highway. Apparently, there is a hill at this location of Franklin Road that creates a dangerous condition for traffic. And we have received multiple phone calls in opposition to this request, as well as the written letter that I distributed at the pre-meeting indicating opposition to the request based on the traffic concerns, as well as the lack of information that the applicant has provided on the business and what the potential effects that could result from this business being located here. Staff finds that it meets some of the criteria for a major home-based business, and that concludes our presentation.
Did you show the picture of?
So we posted a sign on the property, as well as we take photos of properties, surrounding properties. This is the area. This is the drive from Franklin Road, so I'm actually right on the driveway. We're off Franklin Road and looking down towards where the business activity is taking place. As I drove up, though, I did notice some piles of construction debris which looked like marble countertops, solid surface countertops. And then as I closed in on the area that in question, this is the resulting photo of the equipment and the cars that were parked there. And this is a shop that the applicant constructed legally, used for his personal use last year. The applicant indicates that the shop is not being used for the business purposes, that the request only involves the parking and storage of the vehicles in this shop area.
Any questions of our staff at this point?
By looking at the picture you have there, how far is the closest residence?
I did not take that measurement, but if you think of this point being 800 feet, this looks like a rooftop. And forgive me, I didn't take that measurement.
Is the one that's closest to the driveway, is that a residence?
This address point, I think it's just a garage. I don't believe that it's a residence.
Okay. Thank you.
Danielle, I do have a question pertaining to safety. I know that that's been some of the concern. Do you have any pictures of when you come out of this property, any of the hills that?
No, I did not take photos of that. And I might be incorrect with indicating that it was a garage. If someone here can, I did not look into that.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. Do your best.
I'm Joe Boner. I'm the one that owns the property, and I do own the equipment that I'm trying to park at that location. And that first house that you're talking about, the first roof next to the driveway, that one is a shop, but the next one over from that is a house. And the owner of that house is here too, so.
Any questions? Gary? Sorry, Joe, we'll get you next.
How long have you been operating that business there?
It's just, right now, just in the past couple of weeks, really. But I've been moving equipment. I've been moving equipment in for probably past month.
Okay. So what's happened to the building since it was permitted a year ago? What is it used for?
What I'm going to use it for is antique cars.
What's it been used for since it's been there?
Nothing. I haven't even completely done my floor and everything that I wanted in it yet, so.
Thank you.
Do you have a business license for this?
Yes, I do.
Business? What's it under?
It's Eagle Disposal.
Eagle Disposal?
Yes.
So are you running a garbage pickup service, or what is your business?
It does garbage. It does residential, roll-off, commercial. That's the services it offers.
It goes directly to the landfill?
Yes. All the trucks are emptied. All the trucks are emptied at the end of the day. And right now we're not running but 3 trucks, so shorthanded.
What is your goal? How many trucks are you?
We'll probably run 5 trucks, but the reason there's multiple trucks is because there's always backup trucks. If you run a service business, you have to have the backup equipment. So. And
the debris on the driveway, is that something you're just making a driveway?
That is granite being used for the driveway.
Oh yeah, it's supposed using that too. Yeah.
It's stone.
Nice driveway. Yeah, she said it sparkled. So.
Yeah. That's to fill in all the little hills.
Think about the safety of the trucks coming in off the highway right there.
I've been working on trying to clear because there is the issue of coming down the hill, and I've been clearing off my property to open that up so we can see better down up the hill, because then people do come flying down the hill.
I'm sure. Has there been any wrecks that you know of right there since you've been there?
Just people running off the road. And somebody hit a hog there a year ago.
Uh-oh.
But deer are constantly hit right there in front of my place. So.
I'm sure.
Joe?
Yes, my concern is you say you're going to have garbage in some of the dumpsters?
No, they'll be empty. All the dumpsters will be empty.
All the dumpsters will be empty when
Yes.
they're brought back to the site?
Yes.
Will there be any cleaning on the site?
No.
Of the dumpsters? In other words, garbage left in them, wash them out or anything like that?
If there's anything, most of that is done at the landfill.
Okay.
I've got a question. You just got through saying that 5 vehicles, is that correct?
That's what we run. That's what we'll be running.
Okay.
I have up to 12, but we have what you call backup trucks. The backup vehicles, in case one breaks down, the driver can get in another one and go.
But so you could at some point be running 12 trucks?
No. I won't be running that many. I'm looking for 5 employees is all I want. And I've got 3 now, so we're only running 3 trucks right now.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who would like to speak on this request. Yeah, go ahead. If you'll come around now at this time.
I'm Roy Butler, and the house that's kind of close by to this operation is I had never measured it out, but I'm guessing it's probably 300 to 400 feet or something like that. But it's right along the side there. You can see my driveway. I don't have a pointer, but yeah, right in there. That's kind of where it is, right where that pointer is. But you can hear, the clanking of these devices. I hope there won't be any. I hadn't been able to inspect or anything to see. I talked to Ms. Glauner about being able to inspect and see what kind of refuge is in these containers that's going to be there and be hauled all over the place close by there. But you sure can hear it. I got concerns about mice and rats and birds and droppings and stuff like that that might accrue, with this kind of thing. And I don't think there's any way that it won't affect property values having this kind of an operation that's with dumpsters and those kind of things around. To me, I think it belongs in an industrial area, that would be better suited rather than the site that it is right now, or he's trying to start the business in that area. If it is so unoffensive, it seems like he could have put it up there next to his house, which would, and then probably nobody would have said a thing, but he moves it right over there next to us, where we have to listen to all the clanking and trucks coming in. And it is a dangerous hill, coming down that hill from Williamson County. It is a dangerous hill, and there have been quite a few wrecks over the years. But I just don't think it's an appropriate use in this residential zoning, in my opinion. But even if it was approved, or if it is approved, what actions do we have if things are not, as he says,
you can call in to our codes enforcement.
Okay. But
You'll have a list. Make sure you have a list of those if it is approved. Now, let me
Yeah.
tell you two things here that you brought up.
Okay.
The dangerous of the curve. You need to give us proof of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Not just your opinion.
Yeah.
Also, the value of property. You need to give us proof of that. I've asked that many times up here, and I know it's not your fault. It's
Yeah.
probably the first time you've ever been before us.
Well,
but you
yeah.
need to provide proof of these things.
Okay. Well, I mean, the property value would not diminish immediately. It would take a while for that to happen, wouldn't it? I mean, I'm just considering that that's a possibility.
Well, we don't have any evidence that property values have gone down in this county. They just keep going up.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I felt like that area, would be diminished, with this type of operation. I think the general requirements, don't they set out for 2 trucks, and he's wanting 12, 3 employees maximum, and he's wanting 5. It shouldn't be visible from the road. I read something in here about that, and you can definitely see these dumpsters from the road. So there's quite a few things that are not in compliance based on what I read with the Rutherford County zoning ordinance. It says businesses shall not create vibrations, heat, glare, dust, odors, noise, and I think it's definitely going to cause noise and dust, maybe bad odors, but that's basically what I have. But I'm definitely opposed to the special exception.
Well, we appreciate your insight on all of this. But let me say one other thing about it. With the close of the landfill, you're going to see more and more of this and you're going to see more garbage trucks instead of people carrying their own garbage off into these areas like this. So get prepared for it. Yes, sir. Go ahead. We may have some questions.
I got one question.
Go ahead.
Can you tell me from the back of it looks like gravel road there, from the back of his structure there, from that point right there, all the way down that red line to where your house is at, how far is that?
I can't say for sure. I'm guessing maybe, I'm going to say 400 or 500 feet at the most, but I'm not certain on that. I had never measured it. Because, the trucks run up and down that
Yeah.
driveway, and that will affect us.
How about to your property line? Do you know?
It's I think it's about 100 feet, between his property, the gentleman that's wanting the special exception, and my property line. So that's about 100 feet across there, and then on over to the house, but I'm guessing it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 or 500 feet. But you can clearly hear, things over there. And I guess he's not in full operation yet.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Chairman.
Wait just a minute, Jerry.
I used to live on Franklin Road.
Okay.
And, man, Franklin Road was noisy.
Mm-hmm.
So you're actually closer to Franklin Road. Does the trucks running down Franklin Road and the traffic there, you don't hear that?
I mean, you definitely hear it,
So
some,
you
I
think
mean, it's not large, it's mainly just, I guess, passenger car traffic.
I'm not advocating yes or no.
Right.
What I'm asking you is, through the walls of your house, you'd hear the big trucks come down Franklin Road. And
Well,
I was wondering,
I don't
would
think
this be more noisy than Franklin Road is already?
Well, I think so. I mean, and when they pick these, these dumpsters up and clank them in the lids flop and stuff like that. And I don't know if there's going to be backup beeping on these big, large trucks that carry garbage when they back up, the beep, beep, beep. You know, that may be a noise too that's going to be a problem. You know?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you bet.
I got a question for our attorney. Where I was heading with that was legally on this here. Let's say, for example, if we were to approve this, could we require some kind of buffer between property line? Is that something that?
I'm going to do my best, and then Danielle, please chime in because I think you've experienced this before. I don't think that the special exception portion of our zoning ordinance would give you jurisdiction to require a buffer. You can put reasonable conditions that go to kind of the time, place, and manner of how the business is going to operate under it, but to require him to alter his property. So, like for example, you could maybe suggest that all dumpsters not be seen from the roadway, so he'd have to bring them back, or you could place limits on the number of trucks or grant variances to allow more in excess of what our ordinance allows. But no, I don't think you could do what you suggested.
Could we say that there's no debris? And I'm talking about trash. I'm talking about debris because I've seen something on the side of the driveway there. Can we add that something like that if it was approved?
I think if you were somewhat not terribly detailed in it, because if there's a piece of trash from a neighboring property that happens to blow over into his driveway, but something like we'll keep the driveway within so many feet reasonably clean and free from debris related to the business, that would be something that would be a reasonable condition on it.
Okay, thank you.
I think if it's related to the business, you can certainly do that. A general statement, I don't know about that, whether we could enforce that or not. Is anyone else? The public hearing is still open. Come on around, please. Want to hear what you have to say.
I'm Douglas Kerrigan. My wife and I are looking to build there. We already started construction, a new site. If you see the creek coming up from the far right corner, that's Stewart's Creek. Down on 96 on the right bottom corner, to the right. If you see that little bald area right there, just right on the other side of that, which is approximately maybe 1,000 feet, it's pretty much parallel from the west. Of course, the wind comes out of the west, blows to the east most of the time, and so it doesn't start at 6 o'clock, it starts at 5 o'clock a.m. And I don't know how many people would want to be woke up at 5 a.m. clanging and banging, trucks in and out, air brakes going off. My wife, she was fortunate to win a green card, came here from Russia, actually Kazakhstan. She lived in a big city, all out of noise. We met 15 years ago, Austin, Texas. She came here and her dream was to live in the country, have peace and quiet. Well, we found peace and quiet, and 57 acres right beside that. We bought it 4 years ago. We cleaned it off, and we've been working night and day, weekends, every weekend. You can see right by, we've done a good job, put a fence up, did a lot of haul dirts in, put a winery in the front. It's going to be our dream home to retire from. And we came there to have peace and quiet, not to have noise, banging, and clanging. Now I heard the gentleman say, get used to it. No, don't get used to, you don't get used to something in a residential area that should be in a commercial area. Yes, get used to the more trash trucks coming to your area to pick up trash, but not a business per se of construction noise basically on them. And I like to just demonstrate a little sound, a little test, about a 2-second sound, what you would hear at 5 o'clock in the morning before you out of bed, before you even started your morning. And if you may, just take a couple seconds. How would you like to be waking to that every morning before you're ready to go to work, before your coffee's even turned on? Now, I'm not saying he has all the alarms, but it should be required for trash trucks backing up. I understand that it would approve for 3 trash trucks. That's 3 too many. We looking at building up in the upper digit, 6-digit figure home. Already building over 2-digit, 6-digit barn with living areas subject to expand to. We didn't clear off the property for a new home. Been trying to find a builder, which is impossible right now. So construction, subs are really hard to find, good quality subs. And I just objective of someone bringing a business in my back door, literally. I used to have a lot of deer there, a lot of wildlife. Don't see as many as I used to see, just because of the noise and the air trucks, the brakes at 5 o'clock in the morning. Then they return in the afternoon and repeats it all over again. And that's basically what I have to say. The noise is the noise pollution.
Yeah.
And the other pollution
me
is
also
the
say
rain
that-
coming into the dumpsters on a wet day.
Yeah.
Whatever's been hauled in there from trash from the home sites, that's going to leak into the drain. I got a well water. I just spent a lot of money on a well just 1,000 feet away, and I only had to go down 75 feet. So I think I'm going to get that in my well water over time. Just what's going to leak out of those containers from rain, even though they are empty.
You mentioned the time that they would be operating. Their request is from 6 to 4.
It wouldn't
They've
matter if
been
it was
operating-
7 to 4. 7 to 4 is too early for me to be, that's when I
Yeah,
get
but
up.
they've been operating before that, is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions?
When did you notice that the building, that the business has started to be in operation?
I didn't look at the timeline. I think a couple months or more. David, he's in and out there a lot. He's got property, actually joins, that's his narrow strip right there, that's right there. And he can probably,
The other side of that red line?
yes, that's his property line, that little narrow strip right there. Yeah. And he's been a big help. He's came over and helped me, good neighbors do, come over and help do construction. Me and my wife and I have done it. We've done a lot of work over there, a lot of clearing, a lot of cutting chainsaws, a lot of burning. And
Any other questions? Any questions? Thank you. May be seated.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Anyone else? We have others that would like to speak. If you'll come on around over here. If we have others, if you'll come around to my right, so we'll know that we have everyone.
James Spann, I'm right across the street there, right in front of you. Here's the other driveway that comes out where his trash business at. And I see trucks coming in and out of that. And we got a lot of traffic out there. We've had 7 or 8 wrecks out there. They tore my fence down. They tore covered on my driveway and didn't have no insurance. And a business, in a farm area, do that go together? I'm asking the question: do a business in an agricultural farm area do that go together?
Well, the applicant is requesting to, the property zone residential medium, and within the Rutherford County zoning ordinance, people are allowed to request a special exception approval for a major home-based business. So the zoning allows for someone to come before the board to request for a business in conjunction with their residents being on the same property, and that's what we're considering now. We're not considering a zoning change. We are considering a major home-based business on a residentially zoned property.
Right. Okay. And on the road, they don't have no turning lanes out there, nothing. You got traffic running off that hill, and they're speeding when they come off that hill, and so it's going to bring dangers out there. A lot of traffic because they already done tore my fence down several times, and then done tore my driveway, and it's going to bring more out there. And and he said his trash truck is empty. He got some bins over there that they haul in there. It's covered up, and they drop them and go somewhere else and get some more. Now those hoppers not empty, and them trash trucks not at the landfill. I mean, cleaned out and washed out. You see that water still running down the road when them trash trucks go, and the garbage trucks.
Right. Well, those are some of the things that we've discussed tonight. The applicant indicated that the bins were going to be empty when they're brought onto the site, and what you just indicated is that they're not empty, that water leaks out of the bins as they're driving down the highway? Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah. When around town here, when you used to see them picking up that garbage.
Oh, around
around town, it's the same as garbage truck going in out there. You're gonna get the same thing. And the rats, all that stuff, flies.
Okay, so the applicant has indicated at the podium a few moments ago that the bins are empty when they're brought on site. So that would be a question better responded to by the applicant.
Well, that's what he's saying. He said they're empty, and all of them not empty. All them hoppers not empty. They bring them in and unload them, go somewhere and get them, pick up some more.
Yeah, you have a lot of questions, which is not relevant to this request. So you might want to sit down with him before you leave here today and try to get some of your answers, okay? Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Michelle Irvin. I'm at 12100 Franklin Road.
Speak into the mic, please.
I'm at 12100 Franklin Road, just down from this property. My concerns are some that's already been voiced, excuse me, with the added trucks to the road and not having a lane for them to come in and out to pick up enough speed to match what's coming down, what's coming down the hill. Sorry. There are a lot of accidents in this area because they come around the corner so fast because of the hill, and that does worry me a lot. Several of them wind up in my front yard. Also, the concern with them taking off, trying to take off from exiting the property is very noisy because they're trying to hurry, they're rushing through their gears, it's just very loud because you can't really tell from the shot, but it's the lower part, it's kind of like a little valley area, and everything just echoes through there. All that noise does. So I get woken up in the mornings. I do work from home, so I'm there when the trucks are coming and going. They are leaving early, earlier than when I get up sometimes. So that's a problem. I'm also concerned about the scavenger animals being attracted to the smells coming to the area, which are going to the deer population is going to hurt that. The summer smells. You've got empty trucks, supposedly, but, you're still going to have that smell and that odor when it's 110 degrees outside. And that's another concern of mine as well.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Next. You have a question?
I just want to get clarification on something you might be able to answer. Mr. Boner said he'd only been there 2 weeks. Mr. Spann said he'd been there 2 months. Can you advise how long you think that they've been there and been busy?
I started seeing, I'm going to say at least 3 months that I've seen the dumpsters, and they are visible from the road. They're kind of just haphazardly everywhere, and the granite is may be used for the driveway, but you drive by and all you see is a big pile of something. It's not been graded or smoothed out. It just looks like he dumped on the side of the road there.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Sorry. Okay. Next.
Hey guys, my name is Marshall Sparkman. I own the property across the street, kind of catty corner. We bought, my wife and I bought 52 acres with the plan of building our dream home there, as most people do. And you guys know as well as I do, everybody in this room, up Highway 96 right before you cross the Williamson County line. It's absolutely beautiful. It's wooded. It's just it's a paradise, and that's why we bought there. It's a wooded sanctuary, and this is a major, I mean, let's face it, you guys, this is a major garbage business that we're going to be running in and out of this residential area at the end of the day. My fear is if this were to be approved, we're going to be right back in here fighting this same thing again, at running a major business out of here. The current driveway that he's put in is, I don't know if there's a width requirement and as opposed to residential. Is there a width driveway requirement on what you're able to put in on the RM versus?
That would be a question for Public Works, Roads Department.
So, you know, I'm not opposed to running a business out of your house. I'm a businessman myself. I'm not opposed to that. Running a major dump truck operation off 96 right there, that hill is very steep. My only request is that we would table this for further investigation. Somebody drive there and get eyeballs on it and see how traffic comes flying down that. You literally have to put on your brakes coming down that hill. It's so steep. Coming out of Williamson County. So, you know, having dump trucks turning in and out of there is not ideal. Even right up the street, before you get to Almoville Road, you have that industrial area. They've even got a turnoff right there off of 96, and that's just regular traffic. They're not running big trucks up and out of there. So not only is it a safety hazard, that area's intent was to be a primary residence, and you know, there's $1.5 million house that lives in back there, and other people are building $1 million houses right around it. I didn't buy a piece of land to build $1 million house next to a garbage dump operation, to be honest with you. So I'm opposed to it.
Any questions? Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I live out Franklin Road, and I drive this right here quite a bit. There is a very steep hill right there, and with the size of vehicles that these are, I do foresee it being a safety issue with the traffic there. It would be different if it was being zoned, and we could require the planning commission, if someone could require a turn lane for means of egress. But so I'm going to make a motion that we deny the request based on it being a safety issue as far as traffic.
Second.
It doesn't meet the standards of all home-based businesses. It's staff report here. It doesn't meet all of those. So you have standards that are not being met, and that's why you're making a motion to be denied. Is that right?
Yes, and add that in that motion as well.
Okay. And we have a second. Any further discussion?
Discussion, please. Well, one thing that it probably would not, one criteria that it would not meet is because of the noise and the intrusion upon the neighbors with the noise. Item number 2 is adversely affecting the neighbors, which is another qualification not meet.
With your discussion, that makes it official.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Call a roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Amber Brown, Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
William Harper,
Yes.
Renee Curtis,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. The next item, we have Hernandez request, and there are multiple requests in this. Would you please explain it?
Okay. Application 2019-47 involves the property at 608 Olive Branch Road. And we have 4 requests that we're going to be considering as part of this application. The site is a 0.7 acre site and located in the residential medium density zone. And I will read the individual requests directly from the staff report, just for the record. The first request is the applicant is seeking special exception approval for an accessory dwelling unit. The site is less than 1 acre, and because of that, they need special exception approval for an accessory dwelling unit. Now, this particular application came about as a code enforcement complaint. An addition was being constructed to the primary dwelling, and once the applicant was notified, once the building department was notified, a site inspection was conducted, and it was determined that there was work being completed without a building permit. The applicant was asked to come into the building department and met with the building official to identify all of the violations or issues that needed to be resolved before a building permit could be issued for all of the work that had commenced without a permit. As a result of our discussions, it was determined that there were 4 dwelling units that were established on the property. And this first request for an accessory dwelling unit is to legitimize one of those dwelling units. The zoning ordinance does not allow for 2 additional dwelling units. They can only have a total of 2, and that's with special exception approval from you. So the applicant, and let me just go to the photos because this is just a bit complicated. This is a structure that was built, a portion of the structure was built with a permit, and the structure was built as a garage. Since that garage was permitted years later, the structure was added on, and then the structure was converted into 2 dwelling units. The applicant is seeking approval to allow one of the dwelling units to remain within the structure. And that would be the accessory dwelling unit that they are seeking as part of this application. The primary residence, as you can see, is the dormer structure. This addition to the primary residence contains an attached dwelling unit. The applicant has indicated that if approved, they will remove one of the kitchens from this structure to render it as a single-family dwelling. And if approved, they will remove one of the kitchen units from this detached accessory structure. So that would allow, if they are approved, they would be able to obtain a building permit. These structures have not been inspected inside by the building department to determine whether or not it meets the building code. And so that's the first request, an accessory dwelling unit on less than 1 acre. The second request involves lot coverage, and they are limited to 25% maximum square footage for property located in the residential medium zoning district. A measurement using our GIS as well as information provided by the applicant indicates that there's 8,954 square feet of building footprint on this 0.7 acre lot. That means that the total lot coverage is 30% versus the 25% maximum allowed. They are seeking variance relief to allow that 30% lot coverage. The third request involves the total area of detached accessory structures allowed. For a lot less, 1 acre or less, a property owner is allowed 2,000 square feet of detached accessory square footage. The applicant is seeking approval for 6,680 square feet of detached accessory structure area. That would mean granting approval of an additional 4,680 square feet than what is allowed. Now, we have provided a table in the staff report that breaks down the square footage of the total structures as well as detached accessory structures. So as far as lot coverage is concerned, we measure the building footprint. For the detached accessory structures, we measure all of the square footage, whether it's the first floor and second floor. So let's go to an aerial where I can show you. These are photos, and I will advance back or go back. This is the aerial that was taken in March of this year. It does not show all of the structures that are actually located on the site. The ADU, we've identified the structure that the ADU will be located within. But you have a framework for a metal garage or metal building that will be located in a corner of the property. This area here, and I don't know if you can see the cursor, is the location of that two-story additional unit that was constructed this year. And they have a structure located within the front yard setback that is used for personal and religious reasons. It's a shrine to memorize the son of the applicant. This structure is located within the front yard setback. The applicant, in meetings with the applicant, he has indicated that the structure is 14 feet from the front property line. However, when we measured it using our GIS mapping tools, it looks much closer than 14 feet. So we advertise a 35-foot front yard setback reduction to allow that detached accessory structure to remain. The applicant is not asking for any additional structures to be erected. They're actually just asking for approval to be able to get permits for the existing structures and to continue the work on the two-story addition to the primary residence as well as the garage in the back of the property. And so that is the fourth request. And hopefully that was clear as mud. Do you want to add anything to it, Tanya?
That's good.
Okay.
Can we hear?
So in review of all of the criteria, the special exception criteria for the ADU does not meet all of the criteria for accessory dwelling units, as it's going to be located within a structure that exceeds the maximum square footage allowed for detached accessory structure area. However, if the board decides to approve this special exception, they could approve it, but the applicant would need to make modifications to the existing structures in order to come into compliance with the square footage that's allowed, should you deny the variance request.
When it's appropriate, we will take each item separately.
Right.
The 4 items, okay?
And
we're not ready for that yet.
Right. And as far as the variance relief, they do not meet the criteria for variance as described in the staff report.
Okay, any questions, staff?
I simply, to make it a little easier to grasp the nature of each request, could we discuss and vote on those independently?
We'll do that. Okay.
Thank you.
I do want to add, before we start, that we have received calls from an adjacent property owner. They actually border the property on 2 sides. And there are 6 property owners that have interest in this property, and they have indicated opposition to the request. I distributed an email that was sent to our office along with photos from representing 3 of those voices regarding that adjacent property, and they've indicated opposition to this, and I understand that one of the property owners is here tonight.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. To the podium.
Okay, my name is Juvenal Hernandez. I live in 608 Olin Brand Road, Smyrna.
John Fuel.
Okay. Empieza otra vez.
Okay, my name is Juvenal Hernandez, and 608 Olin Brand Road, Smyrna, Tennessee. And I'm here.
Hey, John, just ask him to speak in Spanish, and then you can translate in English for us.
Mi nombre es Juvenal Hernández.
Juvenal Hernandez.
Vivo en la 608.
I live at 608
Olive Branch Road, Smyrna, Tennessee.
Olive Branch Road in Smyrna.
Pues estoy para la adición para que, por favor, para que nos dejen para la familia.
He's just here representing the family and the residents. That's what he's as the applicant.
Ask him if he lives on the site. Does he live there?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Have a statement that you want to say?
¿Quieres dar una, hablar sobre la propiedad y lo que todo lo que hiciste, como lo escribieron en la letra?
Ajá. No, pues lo hice por mi familia.
Yeah. So basically, this is the conversation we had earlier. I'll just, if I can convey that, when we had the conference. And that's related to that letter that he has, that I think he passed out and everybody has. Basically, he's doing this, he did these structures for his family and his children and their family. And so he went ahead and did this, not knowing the permitting process that was required of him. So the shrine, regarding the shrine, they had a 18-year-old son that recently passed away from leukemia. So I think with that.
Ask him how long he's lived here.
¿Cuánto tiempo has vivido aquí?
Oh, del 2006.
Since 2006.
Is that when he started adding to the property in 2006?
¿Tiempo es cuando empezaste a hacer todo el trabajo? Yes.
Empecé, pero como el 2008.
Okay. He began in 2008.
Empecé a hacer la sesión del taller.
Yeah, so he started.
Creo que fue en el 2009, por ahí no me acuerdo, pero
¿Y dónde está el techo azul?
Ajá.
Okay,
y luego fue me dieron permiso por el violín.
Okay.
Y mi niño agarró leucemia el 2009.
Okay.
Y
Déjame empezar aquí. So in 2008, he started with the metal building. And then in 2009, he got the permit for the attached portion that's not shown there, but I think that's the footing that you can see the outline in concrete. Then it was at that time that their son was diagnosed with leukemia.
Yeah.
Okay, y luego?
Y ya luego
Es okay.
Es que no puedo por mi hijo.
It's okay. It's okay. That's okay.
Es que me acuerdo por mi hijo.
Yeah. Excuse him. He's going back through and as he's recalling everything with his son having leukemia, he wanted to finish this, and so that's when he continued all this. So.
Pero disculpen.
Yeah.
Y ya empezamos y les mandé una carta
Okay, he sent a letter,
y pues que no puedo decirlo todo.
yeah, so, at this point, this is, if there's any questions.
Do we have any questions? Renee, did you have?
Well, first of all, Mr.
Hernandez?
Hernandez, on behalf of the Board of Zoning Appeals, we do want to convey our condolences for your son and the loss for your family.
Sienten por la pérdida de su hijo.
Unfortunately, you suffer the loss, but we have to deal with the business of the property.
Pero ahora tenemos que discutir el negocio de la propiedad por medio de la
Sorry,
ley.
you're having to go through this. However, we have to enforce all of the codes, no matter the situation.
Tenemos que enforzar todos los requisitos y el código.
Ok, está bien,
Okay.
me disculpan por lo que me dijo de mi hijo. Pero,
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Again, he's sorry that it's difficult
No, we
right now.
understand. I would be the same way. So we see that you purchased the property in 2006, is that correct?
Compraste la propiedad en 2006.
Sí.
And it was a single-family dwelling.
En ese tiempo era nomás para una familia.
Sí,
Hogar para una familia.
Era para una familia.
Yes.
And then, when did you add on to the single-family dwelling, the home? You added on?
Entonces, cuando pusiste añadir a la casa?
Empecé a añadir como el 2015. No recuerdo, como el 2015.
Pero no cuando puso el edificio.
No. Ese nomás lo tenía para los carros.
Ajá. Sí, pero ellos preguntan solamente de donde puso el pedazo de 2 pies.
¿El Bulen o
Sí,
cuál dices?
el pedazo que puso de 2 pies fue en 2000. I'm trying to see clarification because he had given a 2015 date, but I think he said the addition to the home was in 2000.
No, ya no me acuerdo bien, ahí tengo los papeles, no sé si, pero empezó, primero el Bulen
Can you put your cursor over the concrete footing? That's what you're asking about, correct?
No, I'm asking about the home itself. When did they add on to the home?
Yeah, to the home you're talking about the concrete footing area.
Is that, where, the house is in the middle, the residence, where it says residence. Has that been added on to?
No, that's part of the original. The part that was added to the house, Danielle, it's that top right corner where the concrete, right there. That's what was added.
To the house itself?
Yes.
Okay, and that was permitted?
Y eso fue, sacaron permiso por ese pedazo.
¿La de qué lado? ¿La nueva?
Sí,
No
de 2
saqué.
pies. No sacaron permiso.
No saqué
Okay.
permiso para la
Yeah.
sección que es el cuadrito que está el cemento ahí, no.
No, he didn't get a permit for that.
He did not get a permit for that, and it's been built and occupied since when?
Entonces, ¿cuándo acabaron?
Ya no me acuerdo, pero ya tiene como unos...
¿Duraron que 2 años en poner?
No me acuerdo.
Empezaron en 2008, ¿verdad?
No,
¿Cuándo empezaron?
¿Cuál la dice? ¿La sección nueva o la viejita?
La viejita, ¿dónde está el cemento?
¿Cuál me viene diciendo usted?
Este pedazo aquí.
Apenas lo acabamos hace como 2 meses, como 3 meses.
¿Pero cuándo empezaron?
Empezamos hace como unos 5 meses.
5 meses?
Sí.
Okay. Sorry, I just want to clarify, that portion with a concrete footing it's been about 4 months. Okay? And he just finished that. It's been recent, maybe 3 months.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I think that there's so much to this. I think we should defer it for a month to 60 days until we can narrow this down and get it more defined.
Okay. Dice que tal vez será más mejor a esperarnos otro mes o 2 meses para que tomar todo y ponerlo en una forma que se pueda explicar, para que todos sean claros lo que está presentando aquí.
I'd like to make a motion to defer it 60 days.
Did you
think that's too long, 30 to 60?
Did you want to
Miss
go ahead
Miss
and?
Curtis, sorry, there has to be a public hearing first.
Okay.
Just
okay.
because we're here.
Thank you.
I didn't mean
Okay.
to interrupt you, but.
We've got people that are here, we
Okay.
want to hear what they have to say.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you,
appreciate
sir.
it.
And then we are again sorry for your loss.
Yeah,
so
we
sorry.
may get back to you. We'll open this for a public hearing at this time. For those of you who'd like to speak on this request, please come around. If we have several of you, if you'll come around over to the right, we'll make sure we get you all in.
Name's Anthony Childress. I live across the street, about 4 houses down. I've been looking at this train wreck for quite some time. When they first bought the place, y'all were called out because he put this big metal gate up in the front. Y'all said, well, you can keep it, just don't add to it, don't do anything else. So he knows about codes. Him trying to say he don't know about codes is all a bunch of bull. He knows about the codes. That was his first hurrah. Okay. All these years, he's been running his business out of it. Sawing, grinding, welding, beating, banging, carrying on. Not to mention, at any given time, up until about 2 or 3 months ago, the business disappeared out from it. There were about 20 cars parked out there at any given time because he had so many people there. They're not there. There's only about 8 now. All of his company vehicles are not there now. Not all of them. He's got a couple vans still there. It looks like he's took, the way they built onto it, looks like you stack blocks up instead of trying to actually design the house to make it look like it belongs in a neighborhood. It looks something like from a third world country. It looks awful. I don't know. Oh, on my way over here, I stopped and spoke to a neighbor, and they were caught by them tearing out the back fence and clearing out area to build onto their land. I don't know if y'all know about that, but that's happened also. Not to mention all the parties they have down there all the time and the loud music when they do the parties till 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And when you call the police, say, well, you're in the county, there's no noise ordinance.
I think you're getting into things that are not relevant to what's requested here. Would you kind of stick on the subject? We want to hear what you have to say.
What part of that is not relevant to this going on?
Calling the police and that sort of thing, okay?
Do what?
Just what you said just a minute ago. And I'm not going to argue with you. You either follow my directions or you're going to have to sit down.
I'm not arguing. I'm stating
Sound
facts.
like
That is what is going on in the neighborhood.
Stick to the request. Are you in favor of this or you're not?
I'm far against it.
Okay. And you have 3 minutes.
Well, I think I've pretty well spilled my spew. I think everybody got the gist of what I've got to say about it. It's been an ongoing thing. He knows about the codes issue because y'all have already dealt with him years ago. You can probably go back in your records and find that. And so it's not like he's playing like he don't know now. And well,
Thank you. We appreciate your comments. We do want to hear from you.
Well, all righty.
Next, please. Go ahead.
My name's Michael Gallagher. My wife, son, and I live at 1852 Amberville Road, and my wife is trustee of the Haithcock Trust property, the 80 acres that adjoin two sides of this.
40. The
Oh,
Haithcock Trust.
40.
Sorry.
Two tracts there. This is 40. And several concerns that we have, one of which is how close the new construction would be to the property line. In all likelihood, this tract will be developed, and if someone bought that adjoining tract behind the subject area, would there be restrictions on what they would want to build on their lot? So that's a concern. And then the fence that we had there, along this section is missing, and the land has been used as a play area, which we don't mind as long as it doesn't go, well, my wife minds.
Go ahead.
Well, at any rate, we wouldn't want that to be a permanent situation. And then just looking at the aerial photograph, it looks like an industrial area, which really doesn't fit the neighborhood. And aesthetically, it's not all that pleasing to the neighborhood. So those are the major concerns that we have, and we do oppose violating the codes to allow this to happen because of the detriment that it would be to the neighborhood and the neighbors.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm Sandra Gallagher, and I represent my sisters and one of my sister's children's, 6 of us, and they are all opposed, as well as myself, and there is trespassing apparently going on. And so, again, I mean, we're looking at today, but we're also looking at future. So we are all opposed to it.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Anyone else? We'll close the public hearing. And let me state for the record staff findings. The request for this applicant fails to meet all of the general requirements for special exemption. It fails to meet all requirements. Now, there are 4 items that are before us, and there are a couple of other things that are probably not even mentioned here that I'm very much concerned about and that are going to have to be resolved. One of them, one big one, is I understand there is some construction over the field line and maybe some other areas. Even if we approve this, folks, there's no way that it's going anywhere when you have a building over the septic tank and the field line. That's got to be resolved. So we've got a very complicated request here for us and a complicated item for our staff to work through. And I really think at this point in time, we need to give them more time to work with these folks to make sure we get this thing straightened out. I don't see how we could approve or disapprove anything that's before us right now. But this is up to you folks.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and it's a complex issue, and it's a complex situation right now. And I feel for the gentleman's what's happened to him and what's going on. But I have a concern that, and I know this has nothing to do with what we're having to decide on tonight, but I mean, this is a life safety issue to me personally that I see, and I know everybody else probably sees the same thing, but that's not for us to decide on. I understand that. For the life of me, I just can't. I've done heard what I need to hear, and I've done seen what I need to hear. I'll do whatever the committee wants to do, but I'll be honest with you. I can vote right now, and I know what I want to do, or I know how I want to vote on this situation. So, with that being said, I'll make a motion that we deny.
Mr. Farley, if I may real quick, if it's okay. I just want to remind everybody, we have to take up all four individually if the committee's not willing to defer the entire application. And if you do that, remember that 3 of them involve variances. And the standard for variances are generally, there has to be some hardship that's not self-created that deals with the way the land is shaped in order to grant a variance to allow a person to come outside of the parameters of our zoning ordinance, okay? So that goes to those 3. The other is the special exception for the ADU. Danielle might want to talk about that because I think that there was a staff finding on the special exception that it didn't meet the requirements for the ADU. So if you're wanting to go through it, just keep those standards in mind.
So the ADU is first, right?
That's correct, the special exception.
All right, so I'll make a motion, we deny the request based on it does not meet our requirements.
Motion that it be denied because it doesn't meet. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Have a second. We're going to vote on this separate, each one of them, okay? Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Amber Brown, Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
William Harper,
Yes.
Renee Curtis, Zane Cantrell.
Yes. Number 2.
The second request is a request to exceed the allowable maximum lot coverage of 25%, allowing the applicant to go up to 30% total lot coverage.
Chairman, I'd make a motion that we deny. This is self-created, and there's no justification for the variance.
Because it doesn't meet the general requirements.
That's
Okay,
correct.
do we have a second? Have a second, Amber. Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Amber Brown, Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
William Harper,
Yes.
Renee Curtis, Zane Cantrell.
Yes. Number 3.
The third request is request for variance relief allowing a total of 6,680 square feet of detached accessory structure area, a total amount of 4,680 square feet above the 2,000 allowed.
And Renee, the safety standards on this building, would that be a part of your not meeting those as well? Okay.
Second.
Do we have a second? Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Amber Brown, Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
William Harper,
Yes.
Renee Curtis, Zane Cantrell.
Yes. And the fourth one? Did we get it already?
All right. It's a request for setback relief, allowing the applicant to go up to 5 feet off of the property line, allowing an encroachment into the front yard setback.
Joe?
I'll move that we deny it because it doesn't meet our requirements.
Okay. Doesn't meet our standards and our requirements.
I'll second
Okay.
it.
Do we have a second?
You may want to add that there's really no need for the variance. He can move that piece of, that structure elsewhere on his property.
Yeah, he could move it back in the back part and it wouldn't encroach on anything.
Nothing about the property itself that would prohibit him from moving that structure to another area.
Self-created.
Second? Got a second?
I'll second.
I'm sorry. Okay. Got a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Amber Brown, Joe Machoto,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
William Harper,
Yes.
Renee Curtis,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. Is there any further business to come before the board at this time? Let me thank all of you for being here and sharing your concerns with us. Sometimes it gets tedious and very complicated. I would suggest those who have may be disappointed in the decisions we've made, you may want to check further with our planning office and resolve some of the issues that we have with the properties that came before us today. We are now adjourned, and we all know where we're